Today we're looking at Nikon's D7100, Nikon's update to the D7000. The camera has a number of changes from the D7000, such as the sensor, the AF module, the LCD screen and also the video. And Nikon has also, somewhat controversially, taken the anti-aliasing filter out of the camera. So is this good? We'll see. The D7100 sports a 24.1 megapixel sensor, which is similar to the D5200 sensor. It gives it a standard ISO range of ISO 100 to 6400, and this can be expanded to 25600 equivalent for when you're shooting in particularly low light. As with all of other Nikon's DX format cameras, the camera applies a 1.5 times conversion factor to any mounted lenses. There's also a new mode in the D7100 which applies a further 1.3 times conversion factor, which is particularly useful for telephotography. The camera has the same X-Speed 3 processor as the professional D4, and that allows it to shoot at 6 frames per second. You can also shoot at 7 frames per second when you've got the 1.3 times crop mode activated. The camera also has full HD video recording at a choice of frame rates up to 60 frames per second, and there's also both a microphone and a headphone socket, so you can attach external microphones if you don't want to use the stereo microphones that are built into the camera, and you can also monitor audio levels with headphones. Another improvement to the camera is the AF system. Whereas the D7000 had a 39-point system, the D7100 has 51 points. 15 of these are cross-type, and when you have the 1.3 times crop mode activated, the points saturate most of the frame, so it is really useful if you're tracking subjects or if your subjects are positioned off-center. Another change comes with the camera's LCD screen. Not only is it larger at 3.2 inches from the D7000's 3 inches, but it also has a higher resolution at 1.229 million dots. This comes through the incorporation of an extra white dot for every red, green and blue triplet. And Nikon says that this improves visibility and lowers power consumption as well. Nikon has also gotten rid of the air gap between the LCD itself and the outer panel, which again is said to improve its visibility. Unlike some of Nikon's more professional models, the D7100 uses both magnesium alloy and polycarbonate for its construction. This makes it feel still quite solid, but it's not quite as heavy as some of its other cameras. There have been a few changes from the D7000, such as on the top plate, with the mode dial and the release mode dial, which both now have locking buttons so that they can't be moved accidentally. The movie mode dial has also been moved to the top plate, and also there's a new I button on the back too, which allows you to access commonly used settings. Another change comes with the thumb rest, which now extends far lower down than on the D7000, so you can get a bit better handling on it too. Thanks to the camera's weight, together with the large rubber grip and the thumb space on the back, it is really easy to handle the camera. It does feel very nice in the hand. The only issues we found were with the mode dial and the release mode dial. These are kind of difficult to turn because of the locking buttons and their proximity to the dials. And also the release mode dial is sandwiched between the mode dial and the top plate, and it can be a little bit difficult to comfortably move this dial around. The camera's LCD screen is one of the first things to make an impression, not necessarily because of its clarity, even though this is very good, just because of the contrast and because of the viewing angle. You can really tell that there is no air gap between the outer panel and the LCD itself, and even from here I can read what's on the menu itself. The camera's viewfinder is also really nice to use. It's clear and it's big, but it's not so big that you have to look around the viewfinder just to see the whole scene. The exposure information underneath the finder, which is now white rather than green, it doesn't seem to have made too much of a difference, but the OLED panel is really nice and contrasty, and when you come to select a focus point or another menu option, the whole thing lights up in red, so it's really clear to see, particularly in darker conditions. The camera is really responsive in use too. As soon as you turn the camera on, it's ready to start shooting, and there's no shutter lag too once focus has been confirmed. When you're changing items in the menu as well, there's no lag or delay at all. It's only sometimes when you capture a couple of images in quick succession that it takes a while for them to pop up on the LCD screen. The camera's 6 frames per second burst mode has a burst depth of around 6 when you're capturing on the highest quality RAW settings. Now this isn't massively impressive, so if you want to be shooting in a continuous burst, you might want to look at using JPEG only. As has been the case with previous Nikon DSLRs, the D7100's tendency is to produce accurate lifelike colours, with the auto white balance system rarely making any errors of judgment. Only when the scene contains very little colour detail does the camera very occasionally produce a slightly colder result than you expect. As we might expect with a camera that doesn't have an anti-aliasing filter, the resolution is consistently high across the range. Even at the equivalent sensitivity setting of 25-600, there's still plenty of detail showing, even though there is a bit more noise here too. In fact, noise is the main concern of the camera, whether it's because of the fact that it's such a saturated sensor, or because of the lack of the anti-aliasing filter, which makes the noise appear perhaps a bit more crisper. You do notice this sooner than expected in the sensitivity range. The D7100 is probably one of the most complete DSLRs that we've seen to date. It's got a high resolution sensor, a reasonably fast burst rate and all the control you really need. The only issues are with the slight slowdown when it comes to playing back a number of images and with the image noise and some aliasing artifacts too. Overall though, it's a competent camera and a good step up from entry-level Nikon DSLRs. To read the full review, visit www.whatdigitalcamera.com.